Hello, welcome to the Bee Vlog. I'm Bill. Today I'm going to be outfitting these two hives with quilt boxes. This is a quilt box that I designed. It's a prototype for me, so I'm not sure whether I'm going to like it or not, or how well it's going to do. One of the things I discovered while researching quilt boxes was one of the problems that most people have is the bees trying to chew up through the cloth that's under the quilt box. So I created a solution to that problem by, instead of attaching the cloth directly to the bottom of the box, I recessed it in about 1/4 of an inch and attached it inside using some strips of wood. And there's another strip of wood across the center here to provide some support for the center of the cloth to prevent sagging. All this to try to prevent them from chewing up through the cloth and releasing the wood chips down into the hive. So since this is a prototype for me, I'm going to just test it out, see how much I like it, see if the bees do well with it, see if they don't chew through the cloth. And once I decide if it's something I like, if I have to make any adjustments, at some point I'll put out a design on the internet for others to use. But hopefully this will work well for them. The reason I'm trying it on these two hives is in the past I've found that there's been quite a bit of moisture, especially on this hive, underneath the outer cover. Now there's no moisture on the inside cover, so they've been dry, but the moisture on the outer cover tells me that they're producing a lot of moisture, or it may be this area has a lot of moisture to it and it's getting up into the hive. So the quilt box will help to reduce the amount of moisture in the hive, as well as keep the hive at a good temperature, a stable temperature. So ideally this is a box I'd like to have on year-round. During the summer to keep the temperatures cooler in the hive, and during the winter to keep it warmer, and also prevent the moisture buildup that can kill a colony during the winter. So I'm going to fill this with wood fibers, wood chips. It's just a simple bedding or a litter used for livestock. We have chickens, so we have plenty of this stuff at home.
So this is the Velarde feeder cover?
Yeah.
Okay. I just got to get a spacer for mine so I can do the top feeder. I should have got that in the first place. But
This is supposed to provide better ventilation, and it does work. It's nice.
Well, yeah, it makes sense. You got the big screen there.
Yeah.
I mean, they're cheap. Maybe I'll just keep my inner covers when I need them and get a couple of those.
So now I'm going to put this new quilt box on top. And then the lid goes on top of that. So I'm going to replace this with the quilt box. Just let these bees move up into the hive.
Oh, so that's comb that's come up in between there, the white splotches, huh?
Yep. This one's full of honey. It's very heavy. Wow.
So how do you go about processing that then? Do you just take...
Do you want to taste some honey?
Oh, you got honeycomb right there.
Yeah.
Sweet. I've never tasted it right. I'll take a little nibble of that too.
The bees are taking little nibbles of it. There's a drone. No honey. This one may not have as much honey in it.
You can almost taste like essences of flowers in it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
No. Well, I always like how honey is sweet, but not overly sweet, like sugar.
Yeah. This one's only about half full of honey. So they've filled this one out nicely, so I've got to finish those boxes I've been building and come out and give them another box
Ready for
in a few days. Yeah, because they're full up all the way up. When the box is this congested with bees, they sit on the shoulders and chew on the propolis. So what I've found the best way to deal with that is give them a little bump, and they'll clear out of the way.
Oh, okay.
So as you put one shoulder against another, just bump it, and you'll feel whether there's a bee there or not. That's the other reason I don't like using gloves, is I have better dexterity.
Yeah.
So give it a little bump, and you can feel if there's a bee or not, and then after they get bumped, they move. I'm just going to close it up. I've seen all I need to see.
Mhm.
There's so many bees in here. I'm going to make a mess of things if I try to do too much. It's really awkward working with a hive that's this crowded. You just have to go so slow. It takes longer to do an inspection.
Mhm.
Can't really see as much. Now, for the quilt. Oh, they're rescuing a squished bee over there. We're trying to clean it up.
So how right on is their foraging range where it's like 2 to 5 miles? Is it that's pretty average?
Well, they stick as close to home as possible.
And we'll go further depending.
They will go further if there's nothing within that 2-mile range.
Okay.
Yeah.
2 miles is a long ways because I've been mapping.
It is.
I've been spending time at work mapping it out, and I was
Yeah.
like, it's a long ways.
Yeah.
2 miles.
The thing about this quilt box, though, is you can't have any bees up
Oh,
here
on
or
top.
they are trapped. Because they can't get down into the hive from up here
Makes
now.
sense, yeah.
On these 2 hives, I'm going to install some top entrances, mainly for ventilation purposes. They're rather tall, and I want to give them a little bit better cooling since we're going into our really hot month here in Oregon. Right now it's 81 degrees, and it's just going to be rising as we go into the next couple weeks. So I'm not going to do any inspection. I'm just going to lift the lids, put on our top entrances, and then close things back up again. This box I added a couple weeks ago, so I'm also curious to see how much comb they've drawn out on it. So they've got this one started, and they've gotten this one very well drawn out, maybe about half finished. I think this is the one I moved up. This one I moved up also. This one's about halfway drawn out, and this one's just started. Last year when I used these top entrances, I didn't really see them flying in and out of them, mainly just guarding it and ventilating. One of the problems with this shim design is they do tend to build comb up on the top bars, but that's something I can tolerate. They tend to fill that gap with comb. So there I have 2 hives trying out quilt boxes and 2 hives trying out upper entrances for ventilation. We'll see which ones are better, or maybe ideally during the summer months a combination of the 2. We'll just try it like this for now and see how well it works. So this is the hive that I did a cutout on about a month ago from the column, and last week on Saturday I moved them to this new location, and on Monday when I opened up the front entrance they were really angry with me. The advice is usually if you're going to be moving them within 2 miles to keep them closed up for a few days to help them forget so they don't return to their old spot. Unfortunately, they got really angry. So when I opened them, they came out and started attacking me right away. So I left them for a week to calm down. They have calmed down now and they're doing fine. So I'm going to open them up and give them their first inspection. They haven't really been opened or looked at since they were cut out. You seem to have a pretty healthy looking population here. Now when I did the cutout, I actually put most of the comb up in this upper box. So I need to go down into the lower box and see how much they've built out there. They've been removing the rubber bands bit by bit and ejecting them out the front entrance. They're festooning on these empty frames. Looks like they're going to start building some comb soon. So I'm just going to do some cleanup in here, get the rubber bands out of the way, take a look at their comb and make sure that everything is looking good with the comb. Well, they look really good. They've been very calm today. No attacks. And they're not really using much of the bottom box. Their brood is primarily in the upper box, and there is some comb in the lower box, some of the older comb, but they're just cleaning it out. They haven't really built much new stuff yet. They have built out some new comb up in the top here and detached everything really well, and the queen is laying up in here. I saw some brood in all stages and eggs, but the lower box has plenty of room for them to continue to expand downward when they need to. Otherwise, they're doing great, and this inspection is complete. So this hive was a really small hive that had moved into my bait box, and they were doing just fine down in this lower box and had built out about half of the comb. But I had to combine a queenless colony, a hive that I had tried doing a trap out with. The queen never did move out of the wall and into the box. This hole here is what remains in the box from where I had built the cone shape from the screen material to try to get the bees into the box and kind of trap them out of the wall and into this hive body. Unfortunately, that colony did not do as I had wanted or as I had hoped. So rather than let them all die, I combined them using just a piece of newspaper in between the two boxes. They combined just fine. I cleaned up the newspaper. And so today I'm going to just take a look to see if they really need all of this room that the two boxes are providing. It may be too much room for them. So if they don't need it, I'm going to consolidate things down into one box to kind of give them a better handle on the temperature control and filling out the box properly instead of having all that room. They're using this upper entrance a little bit. I see bees coming and going from it. It's also a good way for them to be able to ventilate the hive on hot days like this. I may be removing this entrance reducer if their numbers are looking good. So let's take a look inside the hive and see how their population looks. of hard to see what the population looks like after blowing in all the smoke because they just run away from it. But it's looking pretty low, as I expected. So let's see what's going on in these upper boxes here, see what they've been doing with this comb. So it looks like they've been cleaning it out and getting it ready for use, but it doesn't really have any brood or anything in it yet. So let's take a look a little closer to the center here. Now, when I had moved this over here and combined them, these first 4 frames were being occupied by what few bees there were, and they were filling it with honey and pollen, but it looks like they've removed most of that and have been moving it somewhere else, because there isn't much pollen left in here, or honey. But they're filling this box. You know, the bees are starting to move up into it. They seem to just be using this half of the box. So this is getting filled out very nicely. The last time I looked in here, they were only using these 5 frames, but they've filled out these last 2 here. Oh, brood, wow, all the way out here. So we have worker brood here. And eggs and larvae. Oh, there we go, now you can see. So there's worker brood and eggs and larvae on here. So they're, you know, they're using the space they've got. I'm not gonna bother them any further. I'm not gonna reduce things down. I'm gonna leave it as is. They don't need to be reduced. I am going to take that entrance reducer off though. They have plenty of bees in here.